Good morning, everyone. Hi. How are you doing today? Good? What a pleasure to be opening room two. Thanks for being here. Just a raise of hand. How many designers do we have in the room? Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Really? Are you a designer? Is that for real? You are? Yeah? Awesome. Good to see you. Hi. All right, I'm guessing the rest is like software engineer program. How many do we have? Nice. Okay, I gotta be really careful with my presentation. No one takes anything or be offended. So yeah, today I will be talking about strategies for a successful collaboration between us designers and you developers. But like the strategies that I have kind of work on any team that is a minority in a very big company. In my case, it's designers in a tech company. I'm a design lead at a company called Dynatrace. Anyone knows about it? Nope. Okay, it's a B2B. So I kind of expected that, but it's an application performance monitoring company. You can imagine how much data I'm working with and how many technical people I'm actually working with, and designers are a minority in this company. So I'll go through 3 things that we've done as the company was scaling, 3 things that we tried to do and strategies that helped us out kind of collaborate better. So what are the 3 things? So the first thing is support yourself. You know when you're like in the airplane and there's like the instructions that they give you at the beginning, help yourself before helping your kid? And it's basically the same thing. So you gotta help yourself first in your team before helping everyone else. The second thing is helping your department and supporting it. And the third one is supporting your whole organization. So when I first started in 2018, we were around 10 designers. This is with our leads and managers and content designers and everything. And there were around 600 developers on the other side, but only developers. So we realized we kind of needed to be more, and we started hiring. And now in 2014, we scaled to 60 designers. Some of them I don't even know anymore because we're hiring like every single day. But R&D did not stop there, and they scaled to above 2,000 developers. So there was actually no way we could hire that much and this fast in this period of time. So we had to go to do an organizational adaptation. We had to adapt to scale. And this is when supporting ourselves comes in. So how did we do that? When we first started in 2018, we were a centralized team. Have you heard of a centralized system before? Yes, okay, a lot of nodding. This works really well when you are a small company. You see it a lot in startups. This means that we were one design team with one team captain or team lead, and we were supporting projects as they come in. So whatever product manager came in and said this is an important feature, we would assign it to a designer and we would start working on it. As we scaled though, this didn't work so well, so we decentralized ourselves, also a term that is known nowadays in the market. By decentralized means we started embedding designers into their dev teams. Of course, we couldn't do this for every single dev team, so we focused on dev teams that are very UI focused. And I really liked it. I was the first embedded designer in the company, so I was like the experimenter rat, more or less, where they tried this on. But I really enjoyed it because it had a lot of pros, but it also had some cons, to be honest. So there was a very fast reaction to feature requests. I was there in their stand-ups and their reviews. I would get things like as soon as they would come up. There was a lot of involvement in the development. I would be there when the feature was just starting to be kicked off, as well as when it was deployed and out there. And my focus was very aligned with the team. So we had the same goals, we knew what we were working on every sprint, and that felt really nice. I was sitting together with the dev team, but it also had a little bit of cons. So we missed our UX team spirit because I was sitting with 9 other developers as the only designer. And there were a lot of little things. In the design team, we had a stand-up song, and I promised myself I'm not going to sing it today to not embarrass myself. Also, I'm not really good at remembering lyrics. And I missed that. Like, I would see like the UX team having their stand-up song and having lunch together, and I'm together with my dev team, not feeling like the same spirit, more or less. We started having a lot of consistency problems because I was so disconnected from the design system and everyone else working on other features. So my designs were a little bit different again from the other designs. I started attending 2 stand-ups, 2 reviews, everything was like 2 of them. The only good thing is that I had 2 team events. So compared to everyone else who had budget for 1, I had budget for 2. So I really enjoyed that part. I had a day-to-day focus. So really, instead of thinking of what's the vision of Dynatrace and what are we going to develop in 2 years, I was focusing on what am I doing today, rather like what am I designing for in the future. And this is something I also kind of missed. So to solve that, we felt like we gotta mix the best of both worlds. We gotta mix a little bit of the pros from the decentralized and the centralized, and try to avoid the cons a little bit of both of them. And we came up with a strategy called the hybrid model. So what is it? So remember this kind of structure that I talked about with having embedded designers? So as we scaled, these teams that have embedded designers became domains. So instead of like having 20 people in one team, we have like 100 people in a domain. So with many teams, with many product managers, as well as many designers in them. Each domain would have what we call a leadership team. And that would mean we had a PE, so a product engineer or a delivery lead that made sure that the Jira VIs were being developed on time. We had an architect. We have now an architect lead. We have an org lead for people management. We have a domain lead, and that would be like the person who's responsible for the product managers and has like the last say for the domain. And we would also have someone like me who's like a design lead for this kind of domain. So now we would duplicate this because you would have like many domains in the company with many designers and many design leads, but we were still missing one thing that would connect all designers in the company together. And that would be like the Iron Man heart for us. That's like the Design and Experience Organization, also called as DXO. And this one would connect all of us. It would have all the cross-functional roles that we would need. So design language, content design, researchers, directors for designers, design ops, also something that's been coming up lately and being hyped about. So the people who are creating the meetings for the designers to meet up and team events and the patterns that we need to do and the guidelines that we need to follow. So they would be connecting all of these domains and all of the designers that we have in here together. So for the hybrid model, just to sum it up, the domains are actually organized by customer experience. You have this holistic view of the entire experience, and you start creating the product consistency that you need as you have DXO trying to review and connect all designers together. You get the connection as a designer in a domain with the product team, as well as with the design community. And then you have a lot of autonomy with support. So if you are the only designer in the team, the decision is yours to take. And that's a lot of autonomy compared to the centralized system where you have a design team captain or something who would have like the last word of what you do. We try to really give every designer the autonomy to take decisions for themselves and be responsible for the things that they are designing, as they are super close to their design, to their product teams anyway. But there was one thing, no matter what kind of strategy we came up with, that kept coming up. Whenever we would put a designer in a dev team, this is the kind of expectations that we have to the UI, and this is the reality that we would get. We were really trying to get to the pain point. Why is this happening? We came up with a conclusion that it was communication. There is a little bit or a big communication gap between designers and developers. As a designer, when you are in one team that is 9 developers in them, you kind of feel like an alien, more or less. People are kind of worried to speak to you because for some reason, sometimes they feel that if they do, you might give them something extra to develop, or they might come up with something crazy that's technically impossible to develop. So there is this communication gap that keeps happening. And we really tried to work on it. And this is when it's you gotta support your team. You gotta support your department. This is step number 2. I truly believe that designers and developers are best friends. We are a puzzle that complete each other's. I mean, it makes sense, right? We design something, developers develop that something. So it only makes sense that we work together to make sure that whatever we're developing makes sense and can be implemented. How do we do that? We do that by raising awareness by onboarding each other to our domains. Coming into a new team, I, as a designer, cannot expect that every single developer knows how to use Figma and how to use dev mode. So every time I work with a new team, I have 5 slides that explain, hi, I'm Perry, I'm a UX designer. This is what UX designers do. This is how I work. And this is Figma, the tool that I will be using. This is how you can use dev mode. And how do you work? And I expect the team to actually tell me the same thing. 5 slides, tell me what you do, tell me a little bit more about your domain, tell me about the pain points and struggles that you've been having with other designers, and how can we overcome them. And then I create a page that's online for everyone in the team where I document all of this. So when another developer gets hired in the company, in this team, they have access to all of those things that we've talked about with a YouTube video of dev mode and how they can use it, with the structure of my Figma and how I actually structure myself and my Jira. So onboarding is super important for both parties. And then communication and speaking the same language. Of course, when I first started, especially coming into data-heavy products, it was very hard for me to design things that were implementable. So I could maybe create a table that has 1,000 entries, and then I would go to the developer and they would be like, yeah, it looks great, but we cannot load all of this data at the same time. You gotta come up with a different design that would actually be structured differently. Or I would detach my components from Figma and try to create something completely new just because it looks nice. And then I realized that this would take 4 other sprints to develop, and I could have come up with something that's way easier to develop. So it was very important for me to learn how to develop. But not how to develop in a way that I could create the whole product, but to just have a little bit of JavaScript experience and understand how our components are working and how the product is working, so that I can speak the same language when they're speaking to me and trying to explain to me why it's not going to work out. But also for the developers to be able to know about design principles and why I am creating the things the way I did, so that when I'm on vacation, things don't go completely wrong, and that they understand the reasons behind the design that I have created. Lack of motivation. It was always hard to look for or to be motivated to start up a new feature or to change things or to improve them, especially if you're integrated in a team that has existed for a very long time, and now all of a sudden a designer is showing up telling you what to do and not what to do. So therefore, I think incentives are very important. Positive feedback and positive reward when it comes to working on features. For example, we had it sounds very simple and very small, but we had a starring system, a sticker starring system. Whoever collaborates best and creates the best, most accurate UI gets a star. A very little star, but it's there on their desk, and you can see which team member has most stars, and that created a motivational system for them. We would have achievement celebrations. So after a big feature is out, we need to remember and reward ourselves that we've achieved something and we can celebrate it together. Instead of like taking the team without the designer to have a drink, we made sure that whoever goes needs to tell everyone in the team that, hey, we're going, do you want to join? And it took some time. It wasn't that easy, like from day one, I would be included in team events, but you have to push for it because having incentives really, really changes people's motivation on a great level. Last but not least, empowerment. So it's one thing when I come back from a user interview and tell them, this is what happened and this is what we need to change. It's another thing to have the team in the user interview. So really, seeing it with your eyes, how users are interacting with the feature that you have developed is amazing. It's crazy. Like it's really adds up to the motivation that we've talked about and a reason why you've tried to find your why, a reason why you want to improve and change your feature. Because it's not working. So what's the point, right? What's the point? We need to improve it. So from now on, I include the developers in the user interviews. I put them on mute, hide them. I made really, they sit in one meeting room and we just mute. And I tell the users like, hey, by the way, I have some people like listening in, so are you comfortable with it? If yes, then they continue listening to it. It's really, really cool because also you have someone to take notes and to really remember and be a witness to the things that you have worked on. So involvement and empowerment is super important, as well as taking decisions when designing. In features where I feel like it really makes a lot of sense, if I would have the developer from the beginning before designing, for me it's super important to understand, what do you think? How should we solve this? Do you have another way of solving this? To learn from each other's experiences. Now that we've went through step number 2, we gotta now help the whole organization. So there's always like this dirty state between like when you're hiring and scaling, where not all the teams are going to have designers. Some will have, some won't have, and so on. And you will still face some problems in there. Now, we were thinking of how can we support 2,000 developers globally. So we're not all in Austria, Linz. This is where I'm based. We're in Barcelona, we're in Detroit, we're in Tallinn. We're in so many other countries where it's not super easy also to find designers who want to work in a tech company. How attractive is that? Like other designers would want to be like in agencies and so on. And we are super picky too, because we need someone who can understand the data, who can support us in a way. So it's not that easy to hire. It's not going to happen overnight. You will have that dirty state. So when supporting 2,000 developers, we had to support at scale. This is step number 3. We came up with the UX Guild. Some of you might have heard of guilds, right? Have you? Yeah? Good, it's a different kind of guild. The basic kind of guild is that you actually have from Spotify the same role, and then you create a guild and you start presenting to other people. Our strategy was a little bit different. Our goal was to equip everyone in the organization with a UX-aware mindset. So I didn't really want to make anyone a designer. I just want to make them aware of design, that when developing something and you don't have a designer in the room, then you can actually know that there's a problem there or how to solve it. As well as tell people, hi, we exist. We're here. We have a UX team that's actually in the company supporting you. Because believe it or not, I think the majority of people didn't even know that they have UX designers in the company, which I cannot blame, right? I cannot blame. We're not the majority, we're the minority. So we had to make something to tell people that we exist. So when we were small, and we were lucky enough that we started this when we were kind of small before we went global, we went to every dev team that had a UI effect on the product, and we asked them to give us 2 developers that would attend what we call the UX coffee. So we collected a few people here and there. We met. We had a UX coffee where we presented a lot of enablement topics that are related to UX design. For example, when to disable and when to hide a button, right? Things like that. How can you create your own app with our design system? Then I would have a designer and a developer presenting together. A product manager coming in and telling us how was the latest customer call and what have they learned. And it started, yeah, it got established in 2020 before COVID. What a great time to start an initiative. Just when we started, everyone went home. And all the things that I've thought of like, you know, workshops and working together and whiteboarding and all of this disappeared. But we had Miro, so thank God it continued working. And they actually started at local beginnings, evolving in a global initiative, because when we went remote, we could actually reach out to different labs. So at the beginning, we thought it would only be in Austria, but since we were remote anyway, why not involve everyone? This helped us reach out to non-designer and have like a participation of many other roles in the company, like I said, developers, architects, product managers presenting. And anyone can present, really promoting a cross-functional collaboration, which is everything I've just talked about at the beginning. We've also created like really cool branding for us. So we have a logo, we have some t-shirts, we have a sticker like the one that you see on my laptop now. And all of these things, when you're just walking in the company and people seeing a t-shirt that has UX Guild on it, in a very tech-focused company, UX is being mentioned every single day with random people just wearing a t-shirt. And then some people, a CEO comes in and says, what's UX Guild? And then your people are like, you're more aware. So I really advise you that if you're starting a guild or something small and you want people to know about it, make them wear it. And then you can, this is like #1 branding for your thing. So yeah, in a scaling org, change can be very, very scary. And I know that. I've been through it several times. We're going through one actually right now. So trusting the process, uniting developers and designers, we can transform all of the sphere to success. I hope what I've talked about right now really helped you out. Thank you so much. I hope you can relate to everything I have. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and let's have a conversation. Thank you.